Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Donna Villa from Chicago, USA. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The Holy Father is inviting people of goodwill to seek the common good, especially the welfare of vulnerable children. Pope Francis made this appeal on Monday, September 18, while addressing the Clinton Global Initiative through a live video call. During the initiative's Keep Going session, the pontiff stressed the importance of not leaving anyone behind. He also sought a culture of encounter and dialogue while placing importance on the shared responsibility to address global challenges, which includes the protection of vulnerable children. He also thanked former U.S. President Bill Clinton for acknowledging pressing issues such as climate change, the humanitarian crisis, and the threat of war. The Pope also invited everyone to understand that all are connected and challenges cannot be overcome alone. The Catholic Bishops' Conference's lead bishop for Africa has shared his closeness and solidarity with people of flood-ravaged Libya and earthquake-hit Morocco. Bishop Paul Swarbrick expressed closeness with the affected communities while appreciating the efforts of Catholic charities and NGOs for their quick response to natural disasters. On September 8th, an earthquake that hit Morocco killed more than 2,900 people. Meanwhile, on September 13, floods killed over 11,000 people in Libya's port city of Derna, with another 10,000 reported missing. Bishop Swarbrick called for prayers and shared concern for those whose lives have been shattered by these tragedies. A panel of commissioners has been set up by a Christian organization to look into the nature and extent of discrimination against Christians in Britain. Voice for Justice UK has established the Commission of Inquiry after its poll of 1,500 Christians revealed that many believers have encountered hostility and ridicule. About 61% of respondents under the age of 35 reported having encountered hostility and ridicule for expressing their beliefs. The Voice for Justice claims that Britain has the highest rate of legal proceedings for alleged hate speech in Europe. It warned that things are only getting worse, citing instances in which Christians were fired or detained for holding certain beliefs. This week saw the official inauguration of the Commission of Inquiry into Discrimination against Christians to investigate impartially the nature, context, and extent of discrimination faced by Christians in the country. The Vincentian family, made up of more than 160 institutions and 4 million people in the Catholic sphere, is celebrating St. Vincent de Paul Day on September 21 with a variety of events. This year's celebration focuses on addressing the issue of homelessness by offering realistic and systemic solutions. FamVin Alliance is an effort of the global Vincentian family, which has been committed for the past 6 years to provide homes to the homeless. The 13 Houses campaign is one of the initiative's ongoing undertakings to help the needy and give them a place to live as part of the campaign. CEO of De Paul International and project coordinator for the Vincentian family, Mark McGreevy, said that homelessness is a global problem with poverty as its root cause. He said they are aiming to provide housing in 100 countries. The Catholic Church continues to bolster its standing and presence in Muslim-majority Egypt. The Coptic Catholic Patriarchate in Cairo was given a parcel of land measuring 2,738 square meters by the Ministry of Housing and New Urban Communities Authority recently. This was given for the expansion of the Church of the Virgin Mary. Coptic Catholic Patriarch of Alexandria, His Beatitude Ibrahim Istak, visited the parcel of land to oversee the details. Father Youssef Assad, the vicar of the church, welcomed him. In Egypt, Christians often wait for years or decades to obtain permits to renovate churches and monasteries or get a parcel of land to construct new ones. However, things have taken a turn for the better after President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi came to power. The Vatican has announced that the Latin Apostolic Vicar of Syria's Aleppo has received episcopal ordination. Bishop-elect Hannah Jaluf was consecrated on Sunday in Aleppo. The ceremony was presided over by Cardinal-elect Claudio Gugarotti, the prefect of the Dicastery for Eastern Churches, Cardinal-elect Pier Battista Pizzaballa, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem and the Apostolic Nuncio to Syria. Several prelates from the Oriental Catholic and Orthodox churches in Syria attended the consecration ceremony. The new bishop had been serving as the vicar of Kanye in Idlib province for more than 2 decades. This area is still under the occupation of the Islamic rebels. He will now be in charge of all the Catholics of the Latin Rite in the Middle Eastern country. The Hungarian Prime Minister has once again stressed the significance of the traditional family while speaking at the biannual Budapest Demographic Summit. Prime Minister Viktor Orban said during the event that Hungary is a strong bastion of support for families in the world. He made this assertion on the opening day of the 5th Budapest Demographic Summit on Thursday, September 14. He deplored that Europe is still being led by a progressive and liberal elite and demographic issues are not being given due importance. The Hungarian leader stressed that his country is an incubator for conservative policies, adding that policies regarding the future, workable solutions, and forward-looking initiatives are being developed there. He said there was a need to have a family-friendly conservative powers in as many European countries as possible. After coming to power in 2010, Orban declared that he was a liberal defender of Christianity and the traditional family. 2 Catholic churches here in the U.S. were vandalized over the last 3 weeks. The incidents took place in Lewiston in the state of Maine. CCTV camera footage has revealed that a woman went behind the Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul and threw a rock at a window. Another camera caught her throwing a rock through a front window. Last week, miscreants broke 2 of the 5 small statues facing the Virgin Mary at the Holy Family Church on Sabata Street. On Saturday, September 16, a parishioner tried to stop someone in a car from stealing the remnants of the 3 statues outside the Holy Family Church. Ever since the overturning of Roe v. Wade here in the U.S., Catholic chapels and churches have been increasingly targeted by miscreants. Hundreds of cases have been reported since June last year. French parents are expressing concern over the state's interference with their right to teach their children at home. The Liberté Education Association, which is a non-political association of homeschooling parents, is apprehensive about the French authorities blocking the possibility of homeschooling. Secretary General Jean-Baptiste Maillard said educational freedom is threatened by the government, which wants to have a monopoly on education. Statistics from the Ministry of Education showed that of the families that were not granted permission to homeschool last year, 37.5% were refused on educational grounds. In addition, 32.3% were refused because of homelessness or geographical distance, while 18% were denied permission for sporting or artistic activities. In Australia, both Catholics as well as Muslims have expressed deep concern over the new online misinformation laws that place curbs on teaching of doctrine regarding issues like assisted dying. The draft bill has been criticized by the Human Rights Commission, civil liberties groups, and legal luminaries. The Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference is ensuring that a person who expresses religious beliefs cannot be penalized under this controversial bill. Head of the Australian Episcopal Conference, Archbishop Peter Comensoli of Melbourne, said that the Communications Legislation Amendment defines harmful misinformation and disinformation in a vague manner that it could be misinterpreted. In an interview, the top prelate said, quote, "Is it somehow harmful to say euthanasia is not medical care?" End quote. Many people out there now say voluntary assisted dying is a kind of medical care. I would argue it is not, he said. A U.S.-based Christian organization is reaching out to Ukrainian children who are subjected to abuse or neglected as the continual war rages. While ministering to the war-affected communities in Ukraine, the Slavic Gospel Association found that there were between 30,000 and 50,000 social orphans in the country. On a weekly basis, church workers reach out to them while providing aid to families, said Senior Vice President of SGA Eric Mock. He said that the organization is placing emphasis on efforts to restore families rather than sending the children to orphanages. He said they are also helping repair homes, delivering essential goods and hygiene items, including diapers. During the days of the Soviet Union, the organization used to provide Christian literature for Russians and Ukrainians. However, the fall of communism led them to diversify their ministry. In Nigeria, suspected Fulani herdsmen kidnapped a Catholic priest along with 6 other people in separate attacks in the state of Enugu on Sunday, September 17. The incidents took place a day after a man was killed and several others were kidnapped in the same state. It was Father Marcelinus Okide of St. Mary's Catholic Church in Amofia Agu Alpha in Udi local government area who was taken by gunmen. The priest was abducted while he was returning to his parish. Meanwhile, the Diocese of Enugu has called on all believers to pray for the safe return of the priest. Diocesan Communication Director Father Anthony Aneke decried the uptick on insecurity in the Enugu state and appealed to security agencies and the government to protect the lives of civilians. Armed Fulani bandits and militants belonging to the Boko Haram outfit regularly target Catholic priests and faith communities as they sow insecurity in the West African nation. There is good news for heritage churches in France, as President Emmanuel Macron has announced a plan to preserve them. In municipalities with less than 10,000 residents, the government will step in to save and protect the old churches. Dennis Shaming of the Heritage Foundation said that there was a general council that systematically financed work on religious buildings, especially Catholic churches in Mosul countryside. He said that there are now more problems in the more rural and fragile departments in Mosul, where churches lack the funds for maintenance. Earlier, there were reports that hundreds of historic churches in France ran the risk of falling into ruins unless the government stepped in. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.